Hey guys, what's up everybody? Welcome or welcome back again to another video tutorial from the Apex Academy of Mathematics. We are learning the language of the universe begins here. My name is Akeem, otherwise known as Apex Elimination, and in today's video we're going to be talking about all you need to know as it relates to mastering your ability to solve any type of equations. This is a beginner's guide and a beginner's video towards more advanced videos to come. So if this is your first time here on my channel, consider smashing the like button below to help my channel to grow, and of course smashing the subscribe button, and of course don't be afraid to leave a comment below and share this video out to all your friends and other family members. Alright, and definitely go ahead and check the description box below for all the links to all my other social media websites, my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and so much more. Alright, so let's jump into the video without further ado. Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about, guys, is of course what is an equation and how do we go about mastering it. Alright, so let's talk about some basic stuff first about what an equation is. So an equation is really a mathematical statement that shows a relationship equality between two expressions. It really consists of variables and constants, and it can be identified mainly by a equal sign. Alright, so once you see an equal sign, whatever that is, that's going to be referred to as an equation. Alright, now a variation of an equation is what is referred to as an inequation, which of course is identified by a similar sign, not the same but similar of course, and those signs are what we refer to as inequality signs. Okay, so we have the first one here, which of course we refer to as the greater than sign, the less than sign, the greater than or equal to sign, and the less than or equal to sign. All right, now why is it that there's a difference between an equation and an inequation? Well, the difference between the two and the answers they provide is that an equation provides an exact value for the expression, but an inequation provides a range of satisfactory values. In future videos to come, when I'm working through some examples and I'm going through my equation marathon, you're going to see exactly what is meant by a range of satisfactory values. So of course stay tuned, and to be notified about that video, of course you definitely want to consider to smash the subscribe button below so you can be aware of when that video is posted. Okay, all right, let's proceed. So there are quite a few types of equations that you're going to be encountering. All right, and of course inequations, which all requires a special type of approach towards attaining the correct answer. Each level of equations you learn to solve is a requirement for the next level, as they all have some similar steps and characteristics that must be applied at some point during the calculations. So if you're going to master your ability to solve equations at your beginner's level in math, each level that you learn is going to be standardized, and it's going to be something that's going to be required for what's the next level to come. All right, so you definitely don't want to learn one level and forget about it, or you don't want to just learn the equation steps or the equation levels in a vacuum. You want to learn, transition, and apply. All right, so definitely I need you to look out for that. All right. Alright, good. So I hope those informations were valuable to you. Let's proceed into the other part. Now we're going to be talking a little bit about the different types of equations that are out there in the math world. Alright, a lot of persons are just told that equations, this is how you solve it, but no one really tells you the levels or the types of equations that are out here. So as I said before, they're all similar, but they all have different approaches. So the types of equations that you may encounter during my video series, or even any videos on YouTube to say the least, is of course the first one is the very basic one, linear equations and inequations. That will be discussed in further details in our future video tutorials. The second one that you're going to be encountering, of course, is going to be a quadratic equation, which we refer to as a nonlinear equation. And of course, because we have quadratic equations, we may also, or not may, but we will also have quadratic inequations. Then of course, the one that most persons talk about a lot is of course the simultaneous equations. A link is in the description below for my simultaneous equations series, theory and simultaneous equations marathon. So do check that out in the description below. And of course, we have the combined version of all equations, which is what we refer to as the quadratic simultaneous equations, or otherwise known as the linear non-linear equation. All right, so I do have a lot of videos that have already been posted on equations, but of course there's so much more to come. I have not yet posted any videos on, of course, the quadratic equations or linear equations or the quadratic simultaneous equation, but I do have something out there for you for simultaneous equations. So do of course check that out if that is a problem that you may have. There's some good examples out there for you. Okay, all right, so as you can see here, the quadratic simultaneous equation, this is a combination of the three main types. Okay, so everything that you have learned in part 1, 2 and 3 will be a requirement for you to master part 4. All right, so do check out my channel for those videos that are coming out. All right, so let's proceed here. So all equations have some basic rules that cannot be ignored, and they apply to all types of equations regardless of the technique variation. So regardless of what type of equation it is, the steps that must be followed are going to be consistent throughout. So please make sure that you know that. Okay, all right guys, so what we're going to move on next to here is talking a little bit about the difference between an equation and an expression. Guys, I must say to you that it is a constant misconception, misunderstanding, and of course it's a, what I would say is a conversational error when students often refer to an expression as an equation, and sometimes you may see a student expressing an equation as an expression. There are differences between them, all right, and it's not just the equal sign but just the way how it looks, right? But the main difference between an equation and an expression is of course the equal or the inequality signs. Okay, now I had some information. This here is an excerpt from a textbook that I'm actually writing. I'm not yet completed that textbook, so you may see a different style of writing here, but forgive me. All right, so what it's saying here is that earlier in lesson A we had touched based on equations and expressions so that we could have a solid foundation from which we're going to work from, but not a lot of emphasis was placed on the difference in that lesson, so we didn't get to see much in these terms examples. All right, so that's basically what excerpt is saying. We're about to discuss the difference between an equation and an expression. So here we go. So let's talk about them. So the equal sign is one of the biggest difference, and it creates two sides of the equation, a left-hand side and the right-hand side. Now we refer to the left-hand side in short form as LHS, and we refer to the right-hand side as being RHS. All right, so that's the big difference between an equation and an expression, is the equal sign. The equal sign creates two sides. Okay, now next difference is an equation can be solved to attain an exact result or a set of results. So the exact result would of course be the equation, and a set of results would be connected to the inequation. Okay, now the third difference is going to be that equations can be graphed for a pictographic representation or a pictorial view. All right, so you can place an equation on a graph paper, but you cannot put an expression on a graph paper. All right, an equation is considered to be a formula, and that can be used repeated to solve other related problems. So we do have some formulas that we give, well, we name it as formulas, but we also refer to them as equation. Now you may be used to the common term here. Let's say a is equal to pi r squared, which we know that is the area of a circle, right? And we say that this is a formula. But what a lot of teachers or instructors do not do is to mention that the formula is also what we refer to as an equation for finding the area of a circle. All right, so all formulas are equations, however not all equations are formulas. All right, so hope you guys got that part. So very important you know that. All right, next now is an equation is the coherent relationship between two expressions. Okay, so remember that we said, well, down here we're going to talk about expressions, but for now an expression could be monomial, it could be binomial, it could be trinomial, it could be streams of multiple terms, like and unlike. So when you have an equation, what you're going to have is an expression on one side that is going to be connected or directly related to an expression that is on the other side. Okay, and finally, for my differences between an equation is that an equation shows a connection between a known and an unknown, right? It's what helps us to find the value of an unknown. You cannot use an expression to know what the unknown is, because in an expression the unknown can be any value, but in an equation, provided that it's solved, you are always going to find out what the unknown value is. All right, now we're going to go over here now to talk a little bit about expression. So an expression is just a statement that contains operators that are plus, minus, multiplication and division. It also has variables, numbers, and a combination of both. All right, so a lot of this will be discussed in further tutorial videos. All right, next, an expression can only be simplified, but it cannot be solved without giving the variables a true value. All right, so I can have an expression. Let's see, for example, here, let's give you some brightness. All right, so an expression could be, for example, say 3x plus 4x. Now we cannot solve that. What we can do is, though, we can simplify that and we can say, all right, 3x plus 4x is equal to 7x. But we are never, well, it's equal to 7x. Now this equal sign here was not a part of it. I'm the one that just wrote the equal sign to say that the answer for this expression is 7x. Okay, so we don't know what x is. X could be 1, 2, 3, 4. X could be any number. So provided that we know what x is, then we are able to solve that expression, or we're able to find the value of that expression. But as an expression itself, of course, cannot be solved without giving the variable a true value. An expression can be rearranged in any order and still produces the same information. So if I have, let's say, 7x here minus 3x, I can of course take the negative 3x and put it at the front, and take the 7x and put it at the end, and I'm still seeing the same thing. All right, so that's one good thing about an expression, provided that you use the correct signs with the terms. Okay, so definitely that's one good thing about an expression. All right, guys, so we're at the fourth one here. An expression is not visible and has no graphing concepts, which was of course mentioned when I was talking about equations. So all right, so for the second to last one here, an expression is not visible and has no graphing concepts. So you cannot graph an expression. All right, so that's just another thing that I need to mention to you. And of course, expressions cannot be separated. All right, so let's say that you have, say, 3x here plus 7x, or let's not say 7x, let's say 7y. You cannot split them apart. Okay, 3x plus 7y goes together, so you cannot look at this separate and look at this separate. They are together. They are binded or connected or joined by a plus or a minus sign. All right, so that is what this expression here was saying. So we have expressions that are connected by plus, expressions that are connected by minus, expressions that are connected by multiplication, expressions that are connected by division. All right, guys, so definitely this is something that you want to look out for when you want to know the difference between an equation and expression. All right, guys, so this basically brings us to the end of this tutorial video. Did not want to make it too long because it's more of a theory video. So guys, hope that this information was helpful to you. In my next tutorial video, I will be talking to you about the solution steps in order to solve any equation. All right, guys, so do check out the video for that. That's what we're going to be talking about in video number 2. So do take care. Until next time, my name is Akin. Goodbye and see you soon.